Thank you. Two or three very interesting and important points. First, about the police. I made a general point. I've been an administrator. I've administered Wazir tribes and Moman tribes and Afridi tribes on both sides of the border. The police are considered, in Pakistan, where they have some training, they go through some kind of academies, as by the public, as very corrupt and incompetent, unless they're supervised by some magistrates or district officers. My point is a general one as an administrator. I'm not saying there should be no police. That's absurd. That's stupid for anyone to say that. I wouldn't be saying that at all. How do you implement law and order? How do we implement court decision? You implement it through the police. But you need to check the police. You cannot have the police uncontrolled. I don't see those structures in Afghanistan yet. And I don't see them very strong in Pakistan. I'm making a general point. It's not about 10% or 5% or 20%. As far as the induction of the northern alliances into the police forces, the interior minister was from the north. It's only logical that he'd get people from the north. There are many reports on this. You can look up, go on online and get these reports. You'll get the statistics. The same thing happens in Pakistan. One of the reasons there's tension in Pakistan, and I'm talking as an anthropologist, many of the minority provinces, like Balochistan, Sindh, complain about the Punjab province. That is the majority province and therefore dominates the army, dominates the civil services. This friction takes place in most societies where you have different ethnicities still adjusting to the modern nation states. And Afghanistan is exactly like that. There's tension between the Pashtuns and the non-Pashtuns. Now, when you draw this happy picture of this little part of Kandahar or the southeast not happy, the rest happy, take a look at what's going on. Is that why you have 100,000 American troops there? If everyone's so happy with the Americans? Why do you need 100,000 troops? You have the largest number of American troops ever in history in Afghanistan. If they're so happy, the Afghans, shouldn't the Americans come back? Number one. Number two, where are the billions and billions and billions of dollars that have been pumped to Karzai? Where have they gone? What have they resulted in? If you still need 100,000 Americans to act as the police, someone is failing somewhere. I'm just raising theoretical questions. You're from the country. I'm not. I can comment on it and analyze it. For me, it would have been crucial. And I heard Karzai, the brother of the president, talking this morning on the BBC, and he made a very good comment. He said, if General McChrystal had come here, someone said, well, if he's such a big success, because the Afghans want him on. The Afghan ruling elite especially want him there. They understand the work he's doing. Why didn't he change things round? And his answer was a very good answer. He said, if McChrystal had come here after 9/11 with the first wave, there would have been no problem. It's 10 years, cumulative years of bad government, bad decisions, a complete mess on the ground, which is why McChrystal is needed right now. This is an Afghan talking, representing the president.
If I could just ask one more question.
Last question, I think.
It is very hot. So perhaps this will be the last question. You seem to be personalizing with General McChrystal. And this is often, we see this oftentimes in Pakistan where things are personalized. In fact, in our relations with Pakistan, we personalize. President Bush would always say, instead of saying our relationship with Pakistan, he would say my relationship with Musharraf.
Yes.
And I wonder if we're not making another mistake by thinking that the personalization of General McChrystal in a single general represents our entire policy and our entire strategy. It was, after all, a strategy that was an interagency strategy led by the president.
That's a very good point. But we need to remember, Wendy, that in the field, this is not a seminar we are talking of. Afghanistan is a theater of war. Whatever our friend says, there is a war going on. That's why you have so many troops and NATO troops conducting a war, being shot at, killing, and being killed. People are being killed in the middle of what's called the Afghan theater. Invariably, during war, certain men, certain officers, men, women, emerge. That's history. Charisma is something that's attached to the extraordinary leader. And these invariably attract a lot of attention, both good and bad. And the bureaucracy doesn't like it. This is not the first time in history, and it's not a question of Pakistan, non-Pakistan. This is a question of sociology. Look at MacArthur and how he was called back. Go back to the Civil War. Look at Abraham Lincoln and his relationship with the generals. Washington was very lucky. He was both president and general commander-in-chief in the field, so he didn't have that problem. But invariably, you have the problem of the field commander and his political boss. McChrystal really crystallizes this for the simple reason that he's at a critical point in this war in Afghanistan. And that is a point in history at a time when, whether he stays or doesn't stay, is going to affect things there. That's why he becomes part of the discussion. I also think it's his approach. For me, studying this from outside, I haven't been there in the field and studied this, but him or Petraeus or Colonel David Kilcullen, their approach to me would have seemed the most rational and sensible, from winning over hearts and minds of ordinary Afghans, ordinary Iraqis, and thereby marginalizing the people who would want violence in society.
Thank you very much. Please join me. Before you join me in thanking him, let me just say that we'll be selling this very good book here in this room immediately following this presentation for a reduced fee. Thank you very much.
Thank you.